Okay, please get out your ring of cards. And in the last video, I forgot to tell you how to number these. So if you can go back and the one that says circles, we're going to number that 9. The next one that said pyramid, that's going to be 10. Surface area is going to be 11. Trapezoid area is 12. The volume of the prisms is going to be 13. And the last one I missed was the parallelogram area is 14. So we are on vocab card 15. So if you can label 15, and this is called solving equations. So we're going to do a little bit of a review on solving equations. Okay, so we're going to start with this equation. Negative 2x plus 9 equals 17. And to solve an equation, you want to think about balancing the equation on the equal sign. So whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you must do to the other, like a teeter-totter. And our goal is to isolate the variable, is to get x by itself. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get rid of this adding 9, and we do that by what's called inverse operations. So the additive inverse of 9 is negative 9, so we are going to subtract 9 from both sides. Okay, we get in the habit of circling those because those zero out, and then you bring everything straight down. So on the left, you're left with negative 2x. And 17 minus 9 is 8. The next step to get x by itself is we have to get rid of multiplying by negative 2. So to get rid of multiplying by negative 2, we divide by negative 2. What we do to one side, we do to the other. Notice that negative 2 divided by negative 2, those cancel out to be 1. And we're left with 1x equals negative 4. Okay. All right, the last thing I want to review with solving equations is what happens when you have a coefficient that's a fraction. So we're going to do this one. So 5, 6x plus 3 equals 11. So just like before, we need to isolate the x. So we're going to get rid of this positive 3 by subtracting 3 from both sides. That's the additive inverse. 3 and negative 3 are additive inverses. And we're going to get 5, 6x equals 8. And the reason I wanted to review this is because to get rid of multiplying by 5, 6, we would say divide by 5, 6. But if you remember, dividing by fractions is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 5, 6, which is 6/5. And if you can see, when you cross cancel, notice the 6's are going to reduce to 1's, the 5's reduce to 1's, and we get x equals. Now 8 times 6/5, we want to think of that as 8 over 1. So we get 48/5. 5 goes into 48 9 times would be 45, so there's 3 left over. If you need to pause the video and get any of this completed, please do that. And I'm going to go on. Okay, card number 16 is reviewing inequalities. Okay, so to solve inequalities, you do the same exact thing, except this time, instead of an equal sign, there is some sort of inequality symbol. So you treat that inequality symbol just like an equal sign. So to isolate x, we need to subtract 5 from both sides. Those zero out. We get 3x is greater than 4. Then you divide both sides by 3. And you get x is greater than 4/3. Or 4/3 is 1 1/3. So this is all values of x that are greater than 1 1/3. So a lot of times with an inequality, since there isn't just one solution, there's lots of solutions. Anything that's greater than 1 1/3 is going to work. So we put 1 1/3 on our graph. We put a number bigger and we put a number smaller. And everything greater than 1 1/3 is going to be everything up here. And since it's greater than, not equal to, we put an open circle. So we read this, x is greater than 1 1/3. Okay, the last one we're going to do. Just a simple one, in meaning that there's only one step. But notice that the x is now on the right. So we're going to have to be careful here. So to get rid of multiplying by -4, we're going to divide both sides by a negative. And when we do that, when this number that we multiply both sides by or divide both sides, if that's a negative, that's one of those red flag moments. We have to turn this inequality symbol. So -4 divided by -4 is 1, so the x comes down. But now instead of greater than or equal to, we have to flip it. And 12 divided by -4 is -3. Now, the way we read this is you have to start with the variable. So we would say x, and as you read this way, x is less than or equal to -3. If that's tricky for you to read, flip the whole thing over. So let's put the x here, the -3 here, and let's make the symbol still opening towards the -3, eating the -3. So when we do that, this is read, x is less than or equal to -3. So to graph that, we're going to put -3 here, -2, -4. And we want all values of x that are less than or equal to -3. Well, since it's equal to, we put a solid dot, and we're going to color everything less than. Okay. So make a note. This is a red flag moment where we have to switch the sign. Okay. Number 17 is a proportion. Just as a review, a proportion is two fractions that are set equal to each other. So a proportion might look like this. 2/9 equals x over 11, and our goal is to figure out what x is. Well, we solve proportions by doing cross products. That means that this product, 2 times 11, has to be equal to this product, which is 9x. And then we solve. So we divide both sides by 9. So x comes out to be 22/9, or we can change that to a mixed number, which is 2 4/9. Okay, we use proportions to solve things like this. 35 over 100 equals x over 14. So remember, we did 35% of 14 is what number? So go ahead and solve this. When you do cross products, 35 times 14 is 490. 100 times x is 100x. Then you divide both sides by 100. And x is equal to 4.9. Okay. All right, number 18, definition of rate of change. So if you can pause the video and copy down everything I have and then restart it when you've got it copied. So rate of change is exactly how it sounds, rate. You need to get into your head that rate is another name for speed. So instead of saying how fast are you going, you're really saying what's your rate? What's your rate of speed? So the definition for rate of change is always the change in y over the change in x. So in this problem, we have feet per second. And I did this wrong. Feet is the y, seconds is the x. Okay, so we want to figure out what is the speed. Well, if you think about speed, doesn't it make sense that our speed is going to be something like feet per second? Miles per hour, so our distance goes on top. So if you go over here, what is the change in feet? Oh boy, I'm really messing up. This 1 needs to be a 0. So from 0 to 5, it went up 5. From 5 to 10, it went up 5. From 10 to 15. So we went 5 feet, goes on top. And the seconds is going up by 10. So we would say 5 feet in 10 seconds. Okay, now we can reduce 5 over 10 to be 1/2, so it's 1 feet per 2 seconds. Or we could divide that and say 1/2 foot per second. Okay, so let's try one. I'm going to write it a little bit differently. We're going to think about a car. So we're going to do whoa, I'm really not thinking today. So I'm going to flip-flop these. 200 miles in 5 hours. I'm going to do 280 miles in 7 hours. 360 miles in 9 hours. So we want to find the rate of change. Well, our rate of change is going to be miles per hour. So how much is this changing by? 200 to 80, 280, and 280 to 360. So it's changing 80 miles in, notice that's going up 2 hours. So this reduces to 40 miles per hour. Okay, and the last one is a proportional relationship. A proportional relationship is a relationship where every y value divided by the x value is always constant, is always the same. Okay, so copy this down. This is number 19. Card 19. So if we look at this, we take each ordered pair and we do y divided by x. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then we do the next ordered pair. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Geesh, I can't write today. So since y divided by x all came out to be the same constant, we would say this is a proportional relationship. So using that fact, what y value would go with 5 to keep this proportional relationship intact? So y divided by 5 has to equal 3, so that means this has to be 15. Okay, so that's one way to spot a proportional relationship. Another way is by graphing this. So if you can make a real quick XY axis, and we're just going to go, this ordered pair means over 2, up 6. Over 3, up 9. Okay. A proportional relationship, the points are always going to make a straight line. But even more than that, they're going to make a straight line that passes through the origin. That's how you'll be able to spot if something's proportional or not. It's always going to be a straight line through the origin. Okay? And one last fact, if it is a straight line going through the origin, the equation for this line is going to look really simple. It's always going to be y equals whatever that k value is times x. So remember up here we found our k value to be 3. So the equation of this line is y equals 3x. Okay, so turn this card over. And one of the questions that you might see on the M step is it's going to say, identify which equations are proportional or not. So we're going to do y equals 2x, y equals 3x plus 9, y equals 1/5 x, and y equals negative 2x minus 7. So which ones are proportional? Well, let's look back here. The equation here that was proportional looked like y equals something x times x. So which ones here look like that? This one does, and this one does. Those are the only two that are going to be proportional because they pass through the ordered pair 0, 0. These two equations are going to be lines, but because of this plus 9, that means the line is not going to go through the origin. It's going to be moved up 9. So it's going to look something like this. If we go up 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we go all the way up here and then draw the line, it's going to look something like that. It's not proportional because it doesn't go through the origin. This one down here is not proportional because of this minus 7. This means that this line hits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at negative 7 on the y-axis. And since that's a negative, it's going to be a downward line, but definitely not through the origin. So I know I threw a lot at you, so please pause that video and take a minute to get all those graphs in there. And make sure that this is a topic that you review and you understand for the M step.